Have you ever experienced a situation where you felt like the whole world was dragging you by the seat of your pants out of the sport you wanted to be a part of or friends you wanted to be with? Unfortunately, some are dragged more than others. I have autism. When I was little, I did not like loud noises. They bothered me so much to where I would just freak out and get upset. My ears would practically explode and emotions would just come pouring out of me. It was a bit of an overflow and emotions would be pouring out like crazy. Social interaction was a bit of a challenge for me when I was little. I wouldn't hug people a lot, and I didn't really talk and start conversations. I didn't start conversing and fully start conversations until I was 5 years old. At that time, I learned sign language early, and I picked it up very quickly. I used that to communicate with because I didn't speak full sentences at the time I learned sign language. A very interesting thing about me is I have a photographic memory. I can memorize something very fast by looking at it and then processing the information on my brain. Another interesting fact about me is I started reading at 2.5 years old. My mom would say a word that was on the page, and then I would point to the word. But I didn't ask questions and verbally engage a conversation at that point. I was always included in the activities I participated in when I was younger. And at first I thought everybody was included in those different activities. But as I got older, I started to realize that some people don't include special kids in every activity, and those kids miss out on a lot of opportunities. Some different types of special needs are autism, Down syndrome, and cerebral palsy, but there are too many more to name. For the purpose of this talk, I'm going to be focusing on autism. Some examples of an autism diagnosis are inappropriate social interaction and behavioral disturbances. Some people behave differently because of special needs, and that results in acting different and thinking a lot different than typical people. According to Oxford Dictionary, the definition of special needs means particular requirements resulting in learning difficulties, physical disability, and emotional and behavioral difficulties. Today, when I help someone with special needs, it makes me feel amazing. I used to help special needs kids do gymnastics moves in the classes. It was very fun to watch them get good at doing gymnastics, and it felt like I was on top of the world. I mentioned earlier that I was included in the activities I participated in, but I was surprised to hear that not everybody was included in the activities I did. I was shocked to find out one of my friends, Casey, could not join the military. Like me, he has autism. In America, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is not for a few, but is for all. So let's include everyone. There are people that say that special needs kids should not join the military because their presence on the front lines would be a danger to themselves and others. I agree with that, and I'm not proposing that we allow safety to be compromised for the sake of inclusion. But it doesn't mean that people who are special have nothing to offer. It's interesting how we can see a person in one dimension and forget they are a human being, intricate with different angles. Remember, I have a photographic memory. Learned sign language when I was young, but now I talk a lot, achieve huge accomplishments, and follow my dreams. Based on what I've heard, I feel very strongly about every one of those kids that have been excluded. Gil Rutherford, a special needs expert, did a study about how many kids get excluded every day from school activities. The study said 40% of kids with special needs are excluded from school activities. Even if someone is not being intentionally malicious, they might exclude people with special needs simply because they don't want to do the extra work to accommodate them. Some people may think that these things don't happen in the world, but unlike me, others have been excluded from things, and it's very unfortunate that it happens. It's rare that non-autistic people understand of how well an autistic person sees the world. Autistic people are visual learners and detail-focused, and some can think in pictures. The brains of autistic people are better able to understand numbers and patterns much better than the brains of typical people. One of my favorite quotes from the Super Chick song called Let It Be is, "When we compare, we fall short somewhere." The quote reminds me not to compare special needs kids to typical kids, and that we should not be comparing to others, but instead be accepting to others. Temple Grandin is more than an autistic individual. She is also an author, an advocate for people with autism, an animal science professional, and was even listed in the 2010 Time 100, a list of the 100 most influential people in the world. Temple once said, "I am different, not less." The quote makes people realize these kids are different, but their differences should be included. What this quote means to me is, in my perspective, we need to be accepting these individuals as unique, and every single person is wonderfully made in God's image. We also need to realize the differences between equality and equity. Equality means everyone gets the exact same thing. Equity means some might need something extra to accommodate them in that exact situation. An example of equality would be placing people with sensory overload issues in the same room with loud music going on with the typical people. An equity example would be placing people with sensory overload issues in a quieter room with softer music, so they can enjoy listening to the music too. These situations going on in the world with the special kids being excluded is not about equality, it's about equity. If we treat special needs individuals with equality, they would not get any special accommodation. They would get exactly what everyone else gets. Our overall cultural influence on how we treat these special kids need to change in everywhere we go. We need to celebrate our peers for their differences. Sometimes people can forget that a person with differences are first and foremost a human being with desires, talents, skills, heartache, and loss, just like everyone else. We need to take a stand and involve all kids without making them feel left out. We need to become the voices that challenge. We need to focus on what things we can make better for all kids in their daily life. If you never raise your voice, then nothing will occur and no change will happen. The next time you notice someone being dragged by the seat of their pants because they are different, remember how hard these situations are and think of ways you can include that individual. Join me in raising your voice so we can see a fully inclusive society and celebrate each other for who we truly are, special. Thank you.